Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to participate today. My name is Jennifer Sheehan, and I am a supervisor of a unit that reviews covered electronic waste recycling payment claims. I will provide training and guidance on what Senate Bill 1215 changed for approved collectors who participate in the CEW recycling program and what the requirements for collecting covered battery embedded products are. The acronym that we use is CBEPS. The presentation, talking points, and video of this presentation will be posted and sent to participants so that you can review again as needed. Next slide, please. Today we will discuss SB 1215 statutory and regulatory overview. Then we will provide an opportunity to ask questions and receive answers to your questions. Updated collector forms for payment claims. We'll provide another opportunity to ask questions. Future training and outreach. Then we will have one more opportunity to ask questions and receive answers. There are two ways that you can ask a question. You can raise your hand and you will be unmuted, or you can type a question into the meeting Q&A. Next slide, please. First, we will cover legislation. Next slide, please. In 2022, Senate Bill, or SB 1215, amended the Electronic Waste Recycling Act of 2003 to add covered battery-embedded products to the Covered Electronic Waste Recycling Program. SB 1215 aimed to reduce battery fires and injuries to sanitation workers and to ensure that batteries are collected for recycling to build circular systems for precious metals and other commodities rather than ending up in the waste stream. CalRecycle conducted rulemaking to implement SB 1215. It established a covered battery-embedded waste recycling fee based on the reasonable regulatory cost to administer covered electronic waste recycling. The fee is set at 1.5% of the retail sales price for each covered battery-embedded product sold in the state by a retailer. The fee is capped at $15. The fee will be re-evaluated annually. I would also like to mention that there is only one recovery payment rate for all CEW, this including CBEPS, and we will continue to annually review the recovery payment rate and determine if any changes are needed. CalRecycle also developed regulations to implement, make specific, and clarify SB 1215, as well as modernize the existing CEW recycling program. Beginning on January 1st, 2026, consumers will pay the recycling fee for the covered battery-embedded products at the time of purchase. Beginning on January 1st, 2026, collectors can start recovering battery-embedded CEW that was discarded on or after January 1st, 2026. Please note that the CBEP CEW must be collected on or after January 1st, 2026 to be eligible for payment. On April 1st, 2026, the CEW recycling program will begin accepting payment claims for CBEP CEW collected on or after January 1st, 2026. Next slide, please. The most common question we get from stakeholders is, what is a battery-embedded product? To provide that insight, we will cover the definitions and also the role that manufacturers have in determining if a product is a CBEP. We will start from the definition of covered electronic waste as outlined in the SB 1215 statute. Covered electronic waste means a covered electronic device that is discarded. Covered electronic device means either of the following two categories: a video display device containing a screen greater than 4 inches, measured diagonally, and that DTSC has included in their regulations. Video display devices comprise of two categories, CRT and non-CRT. Covered battery-embedded product is a product containing a battery from which the battery is not designed to be easily removed from the product by the user of the product with no more than commonly used household tools. I would also like to mention that our colleagues are working on the regulations for AB 2440, Program for Loose Batteries, and we will continue to apprise you through listservs. Next slide, please. This slide shows the list of covered video display devices. The list includes various technologies, and these are not CBEPs. CRT TVs and monitors, LCD TVs, monitors, laptops, and tablets, plasma TVs, DVD players with LCD screens, OLED TVs, monitors, laptops, and tablets, and smart devices with LCD screens. Next slide, please. The devices that are excluded from the definition of a covered battery-embedded product are listed in the Public Resources Code section 42463F2 and include certain medical devices used or prescribed in healthcare settings, video display devices that are covered electronic devices, CEDs. These are devices that have been historically included in the CEW recycling program since 2005. Collectors and recyclers should not claim a video display device as a covered battery-embedded product or the same device twice as both a video display device and a covered battery-embedded product. Energy storage systems, as defined in Subdivision A of Section 2835 of the Public Utilities Code. Electronic nicotine delivery systems, as defined in Section 3757 of Title 15 of the United States Code, which include electronic cannabis vaping devices. Next slide, please. A motor vehicle is not a covered battery-embedded product. Motor vehicle does not include any of the following: a motorized scooter, a motorized skateboard, a motorized hoverboard. This means that motorized scooters, motorized skateboards, and motorized hoverboards are CBEP CEW if they meet the definition of a CBEP, meaning that they have a battery that is not easily removed. Next slide, please. Next, we will review CBEP regulations. Next slide, please. To clarify the SB 1215 statutory definition of covered battery-embedded product, the SB 1215 Covered Battery-Embedded Products Regulation defined the following: commonly used household tools or common household tools, designed to be easily removed from a product by the user of the product with no more than commonly household used tools. Next slide, please. Common household tools means tools that most people have at home. Tools that are common household tools are flathead, crosshead, and Phillips screwdrivers, paper clips, coins, hex keys, also called Allen wrenches. Tools that are not considered common household tools are tools like hammers, mallets, scissors, pliers, knives, ratchets, saws, or chisels. While people may have these at home, a consumer would not likely be using them to open up a product and get out the battery. Special screwdrivers that can't be bought by the general public, are only made for one brand or company, are protected by a U.S. patent. Tools that are only given to people who buy a certain product, employees or contractors of a company, people with special license or certificate, tools that need batteries, electricity, or fuel to work, tools that need heat, chemicals, or a lot of force to remove a battery from a product. Next slide, please. What easily removed by the user means. A battery is easily removed by the user if it can be taken out of a product by the person using it using only common household tools like a screwdriver and without needing special skills or training. Examples of batteries that are easily removed, marketed for removal. This means that the product states the battery can be removed by the user with common tools. Instructions or warranty allow it, meaning that the product's manual or warranty states users can remove the battery with common tools. No tools needed means that the battery can be pulled out by hand like a plug-in battery or one that snaps in. What does not count as easily removed? If the battery is glued in or attached in a way that needs special tools or a trained technician to remove it, it does not count as easily removable. Special cases. Even if a battery seems removable, it does not count as easily removable if two things are true. The battery is held in by a tool that is not common. Using a common tool would void, cancel, the product's warranty. The product has a label, manual, or notice that tells users not to remove the battery, even if they could do it with common tools. But if the product has a key, app, or lock to stop theft or tampering, but not to stop the user from removing the battery, then it still counts as easily removable. Next slide, please. This is a decision tree on our website that manufacturers can use to help them determine if a product is a CBEP. On the website, each question has a drop-down with examples to help you move through deciding if something is or is not a CBEP. Next slide, please. A change in the program is that manufacturers not only send notices to retailers, but they also send their notices to CalRecycle so that we can share that information with all of the stakeholders. For all our stakeholders, this is a big change. We have been working with manufacturers on this process, and this year, manufacturers will have a due date to submit their notices. Let me give you an overview. I would also like to note that the information contained in the documents was provided by manufacturers, and questions about specific product determinations should be directed to manufacturers. By posting these lists of products, CalRecycle does not endorse the accuracy of the list or confirm that these products are covered battery embedded products. We have been working with manufacturers to increase the accuracy where there has been confusion, like listing video display device as a CBEP. These lists may not be complete lists of all CBEP and are based on the notices that manufacturers provided to CalRecycle. The absence of a CBEP from this list does not relieve a manufacturer's responsibility to notice retailers, per PRC Section 4266.2, or a retailer's obligation to collect the covered battery embedded waste recycling fee on a CBEP from a consumer. This list will be updated periodically as we get updated information from manufacturers, and a list service notice will be sent out, and we will identify what has changed on the list. Next slide, please. This is an example of the manufacturer PDF table notice that consolidates the data from the manufacturer notices per product category. It is an easy-to-read chart that lists categories of products, manufacturer and brand names, and examples of products within each category. Next slide, please. This is an example of manufacturer notices Excel spreadsheet that lists all noticed products that has been provided to CalRecycle. The Excel spreadsheet is sortable by brand, manufacturer, and device type, and contains product model numbers and UPC numbers if provided. Next slide, please. CEW collector requirements. SB 1215 regulations have not fundamentally changed existing requirements for an approved collector. It's important to note that CBEP is a type of CEW. We now have CRT CEW, non-CRT CEW, and CBEP CEW. Existing CEW collection requirements apply to CBEPs. Approved collectors must document the CBEPs they collect. Designated approved collectors, DACs, and local governments that are approved collectors are exempt from documenting the names and addresses of the California sources, but are still required to provide other documentation related to circumstances of collection. Please note that if 5 or more units are collected from a non-residential source, the name and address of the source must be provided. Existing DACs can collect CBEPs under existing designations. A designation covers the collection of CEW, meaning that the collection of CRT CEW, non-CRT CEW, and/or CBEP CEW is covered by a designation. The designation scope does not need to be updated to reflect if CBEPs are collected. However, I would like to point out that if there are changes in collection locations and/or method of collection, the scope of the designation needs to be modified. We sent out a listserv message on November 13th, 2025 about this, and reminders on December 15th and December 30th, 2025. Next slide, please. SB 1215 regulations included the following changes which affect approved collectors. The definition of California source has been clarified and is shown here on the slide. The blue text on the slide shows what SB 1215 regulations added for clarification, explaining that use or using means business or personal ownership or the leasing of a covered electronic device, so long as the lessees operate the covered electronic device within the state of California. On the collection logs, collectors must record the number of CEW collected and the specific type of CEW collected, whether the CEW is CRT, non-CRT, or CBEP CEW. Collectors are no longer required to record the estimated weights of the CEW collected on the collection logs. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Jennifer. I will now move to any questions we may have about the previous section. You may ask a question in one of the following ways. Questions can be submitted using the Q&A feature. Simply type your question into the Q&A box. Audio questions are submitted via the raised hand function. Please raise your hand to be unmuted when you are called on. In addition to Jennifer, my colleagues Anna Maria and Rebecca, both managers in the CEW recycling program, will be happy to answer your questions. I will start with any questions from the Q&A. And I don't see any questions currently in, oh, there we go. Question number 1, can you please show slide 17 again? Yes, I will go back to slide 17. Okay, that should be slide 17 on the display. I'll move on to the next question. Next question is, does this mean we do not have to weigh the trucks anymore?
If you are referring to issuing a weighmaster certificate for the transfer of a load of CEW from a collector to a recycler, that still needs to be done. It's just the estimated weights in the collection log.
Thank you. The next question in the Q&A feature is, does this mean we do not have to weigh, oh, excuse me, I already did that one. Apologies. Next question is, are UPS considered part of embedded batteries? Are UPS considered part of embedded batteries? Um, yes, I got to clarify that question. Okay. We will get back to that question. If that person can please restate or clarify their question, I'll also type them a private message. And we will move on to the next question. Okay, next question is, are laptops considered non-CRT or CBE?
Laptops are non-CRT CEW.
Okay, thank you. The next questions from the chats is, will this slide be available for download?
The presentation will be sent to everyone afterwards. It'll take a little bit before it's ready, but it will be sent out to participants.
Okay, thank you. The next question would be, will how do you want the CBEP products collected to be documented? Is there a format for that?
We will show you the forms in our next section. Hopefully that will clarify it for you. If not, you can ask additional questions after we go over that.
Okay, thank you. The next questions in the Q&A function is um, back to the person provided additional detail for the first question. UPS is considered an uninterrupted power supply, so our uninterrupted power supply is considered part of embedded batteries.
That's something that we'll discuss internally and we'll get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question on the Q&A feature is, can you explain the expectations on slide 17 for a HHW facility collecting CBEPS for documentation of 5 or more?
So this is not a new requirement. It was part of existing regulations. If 5 or more units are collected from a non-residential source, then the name and address information is required.
Thank you. The next question from the Q&A feature is, will we be able to find a listing of items that fit CBEP?
On our website, as we saw on a few slides ago, we have a list of the notices provided by manufacturer of CBEP.
Thank you. The next question from the Q&A function um, is um, is I'm sorry, could you please elaborate a bit more on the collection logs? We don't have a record weight for just CEBP or all CEW, including CRT and LED.
So unless you have a designation, the information that will be required for the collection of all types of CEW are the date, the type of California source that you collected from. Examples of that could be resident, business, education, government. The California source's name and address. If it's a non-residential source who discarded 5 or more units, a contact person's name and phone number is required. And then the number of units of CRT, CEW, non-CRT, CEW, or CBEP, CEW. We have forms available on our website. They're not required to use, but they can be very helpful in showing you what the requirements are.
Thank you. The next question on the Q&A feature is, how do we cancel battery embedded device? Is the cancellation logs needed?
Next week, we have the recycler webinar, and cancellation is a part that we will go over at that time.
Thank you. The next question on the Q&A feature. Will new forms be provided to include CBEP?
Yes, we have updated our new forms to cover the collection of CBEP, and they are available on our website, and we will be showing those momentarily.
Okay, thank you. The next question on the Q&A feature is, so DACs only have to record names and addresses for CEW CRTs and CEW non-CRTs.
No, it's DACs who approved collectors in our program who have a designation from a local government do not have to record the names and addresses of any type of CEW unless they collect 5 or more units from a non-residential source. They do still need to record other information such as the circumstances of collection. And it includes CRT, non-CRT, and CBEP. It's important to remember that CBEP is just a new type of CEW, so the requirements are the same for all 3.
Thank you. The next question in the Q&A feature is, are cell phones considered CBEP?
Yes, provided that that cell phone meets the definition of a CBEP, meaning that they have a battery that is not easily removed by the consumer with common household tools.
Thank you. The next question in the Q&A feature is, in slide 18, you said collectors are not, you said collectors are not longer required to record estimated weights. Is this just for CBEPs or does this include CRTs and non-CRTs?
It includes all type of CEW, so we no longer need the estimated weight in the collection logs for CRT CEW, non-CRT CEW, or CBEP CEW.
Thank you. The next question is, how does CalRecycle address e-waste vendors that are collecting CBEPs but still charging for the collection after January 1st?
Hi, Larry. This is Ana Maria Stoyanchu. Thank you for your question. As you know, we've just started this program, so we are not aware of cases when collectors might be charging for covered battery embedded products. We'll have to discuss this internally, and we can get back to you with a response. As you know, there are allowances and limitations in our regulations, and SB 1215 did not change those allowances or limitations.
Thank you. The next question is, if California source only discards CEW non-CRT, can the old 198 form be used, or must all collectors need to use the new 198 form?
You should use the new one because the new form meets the regulations.
Next question is, will CEBP be included on the form 196?
The 196 is a recycler form and it will be posted next week.
The next question is, how will you verify from end users when you call verifying logs? The end users will most likely not even know what a CBEP is.
We will discuss that internally and we'll get back to you on that one.
Thank you. The next question is, how do DAC companies provide logs to downstream vendors if they are not required to collect names and addresses?
They are still required to provide the circumstances of collection. So there is still information that is passed on.
Thank you. Are current collectors of CRT and non-CRT required to also collect CBEPs under this program, or its registration optional?
It is optional. It is a business decision as to what type of CEW you want to collect.
And I believe this is the last question in the Q&A feature before we move into the raised hands. And that question is, I spoke to a recycler that takes our CEW and CRT, said they are not participating in the CBEP due to battery fires and the extensive paperwork. Can recyclers choose to opt out of this? Are battery fires a concern?
It is entirely up to the recycler whether or not they want to receive and cancel CBEP.
Thank you. I will now move on to the audio questions that are submitted via the raised hand function. If there are any questions, please raise your hand. I will unmute you. And please state your full name and affiliation, then ask your question. Thank you. And it looks like there are no raised hands. So we will go ahead and move on to the next section. Thank you.
Slide 20, please. There we go. Updated collector forms for payment claims. Next slide, please. It is critical that the information contained in approved application is updated and submitted to CalRecycle if there are any changes. This includes if a collector, recycler, or dual entity intended to begin collecting and recycling covered battery-embedded products on January 1st, 2026, or after. We sent out a listserv notice about this on November 13th, 2025, and reminders on December 15th and December 30th, 2025. If you have not yet updated your application to include the collection of CBEP and will be collecting CBEP, Please get this to us immediately. As a reminder, pursuant to Title 14 California Code of Regulations, CCR, Section 18660.18, an approved collector, dual entity, or an approved recycler shall notify CalRecycle in writing of changes to information contained in an improved application at least 30 calendar days prior to the effective date of any proposed changes, or if an unforeseen change occurs, the approved collector or an approved recycler shall notify CalRecycle in writing of the change within 10 calendar days after the unforeseen event. CalRecycle revised application forms to include CBEPs. Next slide, please. The new application forms are best suited for new applicants and renewals for existing participants. If you are already an approved collector, not in the renewal cycle, and your intention is only to add collection of CBEP, use the collector update template that was provided on November 14th, 2025. Changes must be sent electronically through email to ewasteapplications@calrecycle.ca.gov. Next slide, please. CalRecycle updated the existing payment claim forms that are used by collectors and recyclers. The following forms for collectors are posted on our website. The transfer receipt, which is CalRecycle 197, transfer summary, which is CalRecycle 197S, the collection log, which is CalRecycle 198, and the Source Anonymous Collection Log, which is CalRecycle 198SA. Starting on January 1st, 2026, these are the forms that collectors may use. On the next slides, I will give an overview of the changes on the forms. Next slide, please. The transfer receipt form documents the transfer of CEW to an approved recycler. The changes include: it is not necessary to identify if operating as a dual entity, so that box was removed. Certified number of units and certified weights was clarified to mean the total number of units and total weight of units transferred. The total units and total weight must be supported by a weighmaster certificate issued by the recycler. On the transfer receipt, certified was removed and weights was added. Pounds was added to make it clear that we require the weight to be in pounds. A CBEP CEW was added to identify the collection of this material. As such, the transfer receipt must include the CBEP CEW units transferred and the CBEP CEW weight transferred. To match verbiage and regulations, we updated the collector activity paragraph. Document attachments was changed to provided, as we are in an electronic age where documents may not be literally attached anymore. Next slide, please. The collection log form documents CEW collected from the California sources for recycling purposes. The changes include: the word organization in the approved collector/handler identification section was removed. Primary has been removed. The description of CEW collection activity has been moved from the source listing column to Section 1 as it belongs with the collection information. Type of CA was added to the source type column. The requirement to provide estimated weights was removed from the collection log. Only the number of units is required. CBEP CEW units column was added to identify the collection of this type of CEW. As outlined earlier, the CBEP CEW collected must be documented. For example, collector must provide the required California source information. including the number of units discarded by each California source. A column was added for CalRecycle to add source validation findings to the collection log. Next slide, please. The Source Anonymous collection log form documents the Source Anonymous California sources that have illegally discarded CEW. The changes that were made to the collection logs on the previous slide were also made to the Source Anonymous collection logs, so I will not go over them again. Reminder, Source Anonymous CEWs means CEWs whose originating California source cannot be identified in collection log information required. When collecting Source Anonymous CEWs, all approved collectors shall log the Source Anonymous CEW collection activity separately, provide a brief written description of the activity or incident that resulted in the Source Anonymous CEWs, record the date and location of the activity or incident, the number of Source Anonymous CEWs collected from the location of the activity or incident, record the name, organizational facility, address, and phone number of a person responsible for the site of the activity or incident. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Jennifer. I will now move on to any questions that we may have about the previous section that was just covered. If you have a question, again, one of two ways you may ask. Questions can be submitted using the Q&A feature. Simply type your question into the Q&A box, and also audio questions are submitted via the raise hand function. Please raise your hand to be unmuted when you are called upon. Once again, Jennifer, in addition to Jennifer, my colleagues Anna Maria and Rebecca, both managers in the CEW Recycle program, will be happy to answer your questions. I will start with questions from the Q&A and then move on to the raise hand function. And looks like we have one question so far in the Q&A, and the question is, where can I find the form to add CBEP to our application sent out on 11/14/2025?
It was in our targeted email, but I can definitely send that out again. I can also post that on our website when we have the other forms updated onto our CalRecycle website.
Okay, thank you. The next question in the Q&A feature is, we received recyclables from property management companies. Would Form 198A, looks like SA, would be suitable for it?
If it meets the definition of Source Anonymous. So with Source Anonymous, it's discarded illegally. It's not because someone doesn't want to provide their information or because it's inconvenient.
Thank you. Looks like that's all the questions in the Q&A feature. I will now move on to the audio questions. And looks like, one more was submitted to the Q&A feature. I will read that question now. We are an approved collector and submitted the form early in December. We are approved collector and submitted the form letter in early December. We have not heard back on whether this was approved or not. How can we get an update on the approval status?
I'll answer that. I can look into that. You would definitely want to follow up with e-waste applications at calrecycle.ca.gov if that was what you submitted, if that's what you were talking about, is that application for letter with changes. But I can also look into that for you.
Thank you. It looks like the next question is it appropriate to submit an entirely new application, or should we only be filling out the form sent 11/14?
Again, with what Jennifer provided to us, if you have a brand new application coming in or you're at your renewal cycle, I would do the whole application. If it's only to say, yeah, I would like to add battery embedded products to my application, then you can use that form letter or that was submitted in our presentation that I will also send out to everybody again. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Looks like there's another question in the Q&A feature. When filling out the description of the collection activity, can we add, pick up, drop off on the same log, or do we have to provide separate logs?
It can be on the same log.
Okay, thank you. We will now move on to the audio questions. If there are any questions, please raise your hand and I will call on you. Okay, looks like there are no audio questions. With that, we will go ahead and move to the next section. Thank you.
Future trainings and outreach. Next slide, please.
And I'm sorry, it looks like one more question came in. I want to capture this before we move on. As a government collector and amended our form to accept CBEP, can we resend it later?
Yes, you would just have to send in a note as well, written with this basically the same information saying that you'd like to stop accepting BEP.
Okay, thank you. Now we move on to the next section. Thank you.
Future trainings and outreach. Next slide, please. Sorry, this slide seems a little slow. All right, we need the next slide, which is slide 29. There we go. Thank you. In January 2026, CalRecycle will publish the updated recycler forms. While these forms are for recyclers, if you would like to look at the new CBEP claims forms to see what recyclers need to submit, you can see the forms on our website. Worksheet A is used for CRT claims. Worksheet B is used for non-CRT claims, and Worksheet C is used for CBEP claims and is the new form. Next slide, please. I wanted to remind everyone about important upcoming dates. On January 1st, 2026, the collection of CBEP CEW began. On January 28th, 2026, we will hold a webinar to assist recyclers with CBEP claim requirements. In March of 2026, we will hold a webinar to assist recyclers with the electronic submittal of claims. We will send out a listserv once the date has been finalized. We will continue to hold training webinars annually for collectors and recyclers. If you have ideas for future webinars or need one-on-one assistance, please send a note to the e-waste inbox. We are excited about modernizing the CEW recycling program. A reminder about some of the changes. Beginning on April 1st, 2026, CBEP payment claims of CBEP CEW collected on or after January 1st, 2026 may be submitted. All payment claims, CRT, non-CRT, and CBEP CEW must be submitted electronically. CalRecycle is currently building the submittal system through our CWIS database, and we will be training recyclers on the electronic system in early March. Collectors will be welcome to attend the webinar, but keep in mind this will be focused on teaching recyclers how to use the electronic system, and collectors do not use the system. Next slide, please. Future educational campaign. CalRecycle is developing a consumer campaign for CBEPs. The goal is to educate consumers on why consumers pay the fee on battery-embedded products, what battery-embedded products are, why it is important not to throw embedded battery products away, fire-related incidents, recovery of precious metals, building the circular economy, where to recycle. This is a 2 to 3 year educational campaign and will be accomplished through advertising, social media, and flyers. We will keep you updated as we roll this out in 2027. Next slide, please. Questions and answers from stakeholders. Next slide, please. To assist regulated stakeholders such as manufacturers, retailers, approved collectors, and approved recyclers, CalRecycle developed a new webpage and a question and answer document for CBEP CEW questions. The questions in the Q&A document are from inquiries received from stakeholders. This is a living document, and questions and answers will be added as we receive them. A listserv will be sent out when new questions and answers have been added. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Jennifer. Once again, I will now move on to any questions we have about the previous section. And once again, you may ask the question one of the following ways: through the Q&A function. Simply type your question into the Q&A box, and audio questions are submitted via the raise hand function. Please raise your hand to be unmuted when you're called upon. I will start with questions from the Q&A. The first question that we have here is to confirm under the updated form 198, it is no longer necessary to indicate whether the collection method was drop-off, pickup, or curbside.
Hello, thank you for your question, Gabriela. I will respond to that. That is still required. We just moved that on the form, so that will be on the top of the form is on the description of collection activity. It's no longer a column, will be on the top part of the form 198.
Thank you. The next question we have in the Q&A function is, do you have the webinar for the new net cost reporting process?
Hi, Maureen. Thank you for a question. I'll respond to that. This year, CalRecycle will have a contractor to work on the net cost report, and our contractor will, I believe, soon reach out to collectors and recyclers to schedule a webinar. So stay tuned for that. It will be shortly announced.
Thank you. The next question in the Q&A feature is, will the education and outreach campaign be developed in multiple languages like Spanish, Korean, etc.?
I can answer that. Yeah, we do plan on having multiple languages. I don't know if we have specific ones that we've chosen so far, but definitely Spanish and English, but yes.
Thank you. I will now move on to audio questions that are submitted via the raised hand function. If you have a question, please raise your hand and I will call on you. Please state your full name and affiliation, then you may ask your question. Looks like there's no raised hands, but we do have additional questions in the Q&A feature, so I will jump back to that. And one other question came in. Can we request a copy of the recording of this webinar?
You will be getting this whole recorded and PowerPoint sent to you, to everybody in this, on our targeted collectors and recyclers. So yes.
Thank you. Another question in the Q&A feature, will there be a list of approved recyclers of CBEP on the CalRecycle website?
Once recyclers have chosen to do battery embedded, our CalRecycle website should, once we get our new system up and running, should provide that information when you look up the recyclers on the CalRecycle website. So right now you look up, one of our recyclers, it'll say that they collect CRT or non-CRT. It would also add battery embedded products. Fingers crossed, that's going to work.
Okay, thank you. And with that, it looks like we will move on. Thank you.
Next slide, thank you. This communication is neither intended to, nor does it constitute definitive legal counseling, conclusions, or advice in any way. Instead, the contents of this communication and any analysis, guidance, or other information is intended to objectively address the questions presented based on the current existing known facts and legal authority as described to and understood by the author and/or CalRecycle at the time of this communication. Please be advised that any relevant facts or legal authority or authorities that are undisclosed or unknown at the time of this communication may affect or alter any analysis, guidance, or other information herein. Please be further advised that any analysis, guidance, or other information herein may be subject to change and/or correction based on changed facts or legal authority, actual or understood, subsequent to the time of this communication. No analysis, guidance, or other information herein should be construed as a waiver of any rights or remedies available to CalRecycle. Recipients of this communication are encouraged to seek the assistance of legal counsel to comply with applicable state law based on current facts and circumstances. Next slide, please. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your participation. Collectors are critical to our success in keeping these materials out of the landfill. If you have questions, please send them to eWasteClaims@calrecycle.ca.gov, and a team member will get back to you promptly.
Thank you. And just looks like there's one more last question in the Q&A feature. If we do not collect or report CBEPs, may we continue using the prior version of the Form 198, or is the updated form required regardless?
Thank you for your questions. No, you should use the current form since the old form does not meet current regulations.
Okay, thank you with that. Thank you for attending today's webinar.